This is City C. We're looking at a replay analysis. Olaf top into Garen. And this is in low bronze. Just going to arrange those. Okay. So both Garen and Olaf are definitely qualify as lane bullies. Garen has an edge early on because he doesn't have to worry about mana, and he has a bunch of regen built into his kit. If you're really looking to wear him down, it can be helpful to just try to, even if you just hit him once every few seconds. If he's full health, it doesn't really matter, but his passive takes 8 seconds to come back up and start giving him a lot of regen, and so it's a little tougher with a melee character, but you can even just use your axes. If you just hit him every 8 seconds or so, just to not let him recover from the amount of damage you've done here. So you've got him down to pretty low, so this would be where you wouldn't want his passive to start kicking in and mitigating it like this. You got to think of top lane in particular, but any lane, as a war of attrition. You're fighting for resources. These are your resources, the minions are. And you win by denying Garen resources. One of the most effective ways to deny Garen resources is to kill him. But even better, honestly, if you can get him if you can keep him low enough that you are just in control of the lane, where you can zone him out. So if you were able to, keep his passive from kicking in, and you were able to keep him lower in health, see, he's out of potions, all he has is his Doran. So if you were just to hit him every now and again, and just, with your axe, and just keep him low, you wouldn't ever even need to kill him. He would be too low to be able to come up and even farm. Because if he gets into your range, then he's actually in danger. Both of you are running teleports, so neither of you have amazing kill pressure. But if you can keep his minion wave from building up too much, and then keep him from regenning the damage that you're doing, you'll have a definite edge. Yeah, so you don't need to be giving him all this breathing room when he walks up like that. There's no... You want to back up a little bit, but you don't need to just run. He doesn't actually have an edge here. He by default anyway, right now. The only reason he does is because you're not keeping his passive from healing him up. So right there, when he comes in like that, if you do damage to him, see, look how much damage you do there. If you did that earlier when he was in your minion wave, when he had chased you all the way through here and everything of his was on cooldown because he had used his Q and his E to do damage to you, and then you had turned around and done your combo on him, he would have ended up taking a lot more damage and would not have been able to return it. Because his stuff would have still been on cooldown and he would have still been in your minion wave with all your minions attacking him. You waited a little bit and kind of that situation is reversed. He's able to get some damage back on you and now you're taking minion aggro. It's the principle to be aware of here behind all this is kind of how you can think about this is you want to be aware. Oh, that worked out. You want to be aware of just how much damage you do versus him, and that just takes time and experience. Of learning what Garen can do, of being aware of what runes and masteries he's running, perhaps. You want to be basically aware of how much damage Garen can put out at given levels and at given item points. Versus how much armor and stuff you're bringing to the lane. So, just have a basic awareness of that, and then you can kind of calculate, at this much health. Well, actually, he's coming back into lane, so I'll just wait till he comes back into lane and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so right now, Garen's at level 5, you're at level 6. he picked up a longsword and a little bit of health. So he's going to be doing a little bit more damage than he was before. You don't have any resistances, you just have flask and you're out of charges. So you're kind of out of sustain right now. But you can just kind of be aware right now, what can Garen really bring to bear? So if he comes up to you and he hits you, and he hits you with his full combo, he's going to hit you with his Q, he's going to hit you with his E, and maybe he'll sneak in an auto attack in there somewhere, if he's really smart. So he's going to hit you with Q, which is going to do, before resistances, it's going to do 55 plus 145, so that's 200 damage. 200 damage, and then he's going to get... Oh. This tooltip isn't being informative. He's going to deal... How many ticks? 6 ticks of... Oh, 296 damage total. Unless he's only hitting you, which he hasn't been in this case. So let's just say you're in a minion wave, and he's going to be hitting you and some minions. Because you're smart, you're going to stay in the wave. So he's going to hit you for 300 damage plus 200 damage from his Q. Maybe he'll sneak in an auto attack, and that'll do another 100 damage. So it's going to be 300 damage from Q, an auto attack, another 300 from E. So that's 600 damage total. That's before resistances. You right now have 57 armor. That's reducing his damage output by about 25% or so. So 600 minus 25 is 450 damage or so. So 450 damage is what he can do to you, give or take. That's about what you have. So right now, in one combo, right now you're at 750 health. So right now he can get you down to 300 health. You are not in lethal. You're not in lethal, so you do not need to be afraid of what he can do to you right now, unless you're going to stick around. So unless it turns into an all-in, right? If he can get multiple casts of his abilities off or several auto attacks, then you got to start worrying. But as far as just a big trade, if he just comes in and trades with his ability combo, he can't kill you. He has to do 2 full ability combos to kill you, to get you down, to get you dead. You do your passive kind of helps you out a lot because of your attack speed passive, but your axe does 150 odd damage, 140. And the cooldown is reduced if you pick it up. Your vicious strikes increases your. That just increases your. That's right. That just increases your lifesteal and your attack speed. So that will in a trade, that's extremely helpful because then you're constantly gaining health back, right? So he's doing 450 damage to you, but in the time it takes him to do that damage, you've gained back maybe 100 health. So he's only got you down to 400, right? And then Reckless Swing deals another 150 odd damage. And it'll deal a third of that back to you. So 50 damage to you. So you can pump out with your axe and your Reckless Swing, you can pump out about 300 damage. And if you are able to get some auto attacks in there, you're going to be healing back up. So your damage combo is less potent than his, but between your lifesteal and the fact that you can do a lot of it from range, you can you can end up harassing him down and keeping him from heat regenning up a lot more effectively than he can you. And with your if you can pop vicious strikes every now and again to even just to farm to regen your health back up, you'll get to a point where you can sustain in this lane easier than he can if you're able to consistently keep his passive from popping and you're able to consistently use your lifesteal on minions. But anyway, you just need to be aware of how much damage he can do to you at a given time. And if he can't kill you, then you don't necessarily need to be super afraid of him. You need that's like the first thing to be aware of is, can he kill you right now? If no, then how does that affect your decision making going forward? Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. So right now, you are winning this war of attrition overall. Wait. Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember when you got the kill, but that's when he dove the turret. So you are winning this war of attrition because you have a minion lead and you have a kill lead. So right now, you don't need to do much other than just keep that ball rolling. If you can keep him from regenning heavily and you can keep him from The thing, you know, from being able to just bully you without you trading back, then you have already won this lane, and you can kind of just keep that pain train rolling. So the thing that, yeah, so now it's when he hits 6, that changes things. So you going aggressive there doesn't do anything for anybody. Fiora was fine, right? She wasn't going to die. She had made it to turret range. Even if Garen had followed her for a little bit and kept doing damage, he couldn't have killed her. So you were in lethal range, though. You had no chance of actually killing Garen. But you were pretty low health, and you got to be thinking, what can Garen do at that moment? What does he have to bring to the table? Well, he's got his 450 damage combo, which is probably a little bit more since he went up a couple of levels. So you got maybe a 500 damage combo plus his ult, which is, you know, another, what does it do at level 1? 175 magic damage, but it's true damage versus you because you're his villain. So he can pump out another 175 on top of the 500, so that's a 700 damage, and you had less than 700 health. Or, yeah, well, it's based on 75, I guess. It does more based on how much you're missing. So a lot more than 175. So it's at least 700, but in truth it was probably more like, he had probably more like 1,000 damage output. Or 8 or 900. So anyway, you did not have enough health to, and there was no need for you to risk that because you weren't going to gain anything, and the potential downsides were large because now Garen has a kill, so he's back even with you in kills, and if he can spend his time wisely up here, he'll close this CS gap a bit, and suddenly the lead that you had created is evaporated, all because you went too aggressive at a point when you shouldn't have. If you had just played passive, Garen is still stuck down, 500 gold. Because you guys are you're at 1,800, he's at 2,000. Wow, how is he ahead of you already? What has happened? That he has more gold than you. Or wait, he doesn't. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong numbers. Duh. I'm sorry. Derp. First coaching session of the day. Not quite. Brain's not quite all the way on yet. 2,300. Yeah, you're 300 ahead. Which you were 500 ahead, or a little more than 500, 550. So anyway, so the things to do to maintain a lead that you've already created like this, which is a substantial lead, right? 500 gold, that's a big deal. That is not a little lead, 550. So now he's closed it to 300, which is unfortunate. But the things you do is you ward up, you invest some of that extra gold, some of that 500 gold lead, you turn some of that into wards, you spend maybe 175 of that on wards, on a pink ward for here, and a green ward for if you ever, push up past the river. So you're not letting yourself get ganked, which you did here, you warded with your trinket ward, and you didn't get ganked there. So then you spend 175 of it on that, so now you still have a 275 gold advantage on Garen, effectively, if he's spending all of his gold on, on items. And that still allows you to buy, cloth armor, basically to be one small component up ahead of him. And then you come back to lane and you maintain your role, and you keep building the lead up. So you got to be mindful of the changing situation in the lane, what different levels mean, what different item breakpoints mean. Now that Garen has 6, you have to be more respectful of him, of letting him get you to low health. There you go. So then he made the mistake of not understanding how much damage you could put out, so right back at you. Your priority right now is not really taking this turret. It's getting to the point where it's almost that time of day, but right now you don't really need to take it. You've got a nice 600, 700 gold lead here. And so it's kind of a toss-up, I guess. But if you feel like you could spend a little bit more time building up a bit more of an advantage and your team doesn't need you to start roaming right away, you can kind of look and see where things are at. The enemy team has a bit of an advantage, but it's not too bad yet. So you can kind of make a judgment call. Riven's the biggest problem. She's pretty far ahead. But anyway, so taking this turret isn't necessarily the highest priority. Continue. So instead of doing that, what you could do is you could just move further up into the lane and kind of dirty farm the next wave coming up. You could take the time and move into his jungle, and look to steal either counter jungle a bit, or if you had invested in some vision, you could throw that down deep jungle. You could be looking to make a teleport play, except that your teleport is on cooldown, so in a few seconds here. You're not necessarily looking to just blitz this thing down. Because what that will do, honestly, is if you blitz this down too soon, that just gives your team a nice gold boost, for sure. But it also gives Garen, he has less pressure to stay in lane, because he doesn't have a turret to defend. So he can actually afford to roam. And if you haven't hit your item break point where you feel where you're ready to start impacting the map in a big way, then Garen will be in a situation where he can't stay in lane because you're stronger than him, but there's no reason for him to stay in lane because the turret's gone anyway, so he might as well go mid and kill TF. Or whatever. Okay. So you have it now. You have a substantial lead on him now. So you're even in kills. You're gonna die here. Oh, he's not his ult. Yeah, I guess he didn't quite have lethal. I thought he could get you down further. There you go. So you're at, yeah, you have 1,000 gold lead on him. So this is the time where you want to start throwing your weight around the map. You want to get to a point where you can comfortably roam. So right now Riven's here, so this is where you want to be right now to stop this from happening. Ult, 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 ult. Oh, why didn't you ult immediately? Okay, this is a pretty easy situation to read. So you can look at this. If they want to dive you, what are they going to do? What CC do they have? If they're going to dive you, they want to lock you down and hit you until you're dead, right? Obviously, it's because they don't want to spend any more time under the turret than they have to. So they're trying to kill you as quickly as possible, which involves holding you down. Olaf is impossible to hold down, for several seconds anyway, because of his ult. So you get a bunch of attack damage too. So you pop your ult, and suddenly they lose their complete advantage. You can read what they're going to do, because watch. So you know that's what they want to do, and you know what they can do to make that happen. You know what Riven CC has. She has a knock-up, and she has her stun. Garen has a silence. So as you see them approaching, and you can see that they want to dive, it's not hard to kind of play through the scenario in your head and see what's going to happen. Okay, so you're clearing the minion wave out, which is good. But now here they come. You pop your ult right now. Pop it right now and start attacking Riven. Because she's the one that's going to be in danger. She popped her ult, she has her shield, she's used all her mobility well, not all her mobility, she hasn't used her Q yet. But she's used a lot of her mobility to get in on you, and she's going to use her stun here. If you can counter her stun before it even happens by popping your ult and start immediately hitting her, instead of attacking the minion, you probably, I don't know if you get a kill here, but you really put some hurt on her. And instead of you being stunned and then Garen's able to come in and hit you with his Q, you know, by this time Riven is already way lower health, and so she's starting to panic about can she keep tanking the turret. You know, you either need to bait them into diving you a lot harder by just falling back and giving up these CS, which is probably a combination of these two things. These CS are not nearly as important enough for you to die for, right? This is what? This is 30 gold? Or 34 gold, but with the other one it's maybe a total of 50 gold, 60 gold, something like that. 60 gold is not worth dying over, obviously. So going up and especially spending an ability to get those minions, you spent your axe and your reckless swings to get minions, and that leaves them totally free. Your full damage combo is on cooldown. They don't have to be worrying about you at all. So if they're going to dive, and it looks like they want to dive, you got to decide, can I 2v1 if they dive? Can I win if they dive? Which between these two would be risky. Even with your ult it'd be risky. So if not, then probably you just back off. You back off and just give these minions up. Let them die. Who cares? If Riven's wasting her time up here and sapping Garen's experience and sapping Garen's gold, and you have to trade 60 gold for that, for that advantage, then so be it. That's an easy trade to make. If they dive you anyway, I don't know that you were so low that you needed to just abandon the turret. That's kind of above my knowledge to be able to analyze that far. If you should have just left. But I think if they were to dive you completely, then you probably could have won here if you popped your ult and and reckless swinged Riven and then used your axes and tried to kite him around the turret. Maybe Garen ends up killing you anyway, but you probably kill Riven, so you probably go 1 for 1. Okay, I'm going to speed up here. We're going to look at some mid-game stuff. Okay, so at this point you still have a substantial CS lead on Garen, which still is translating into a substantial gold lead. It's not quite as much as before because they've taken 1 of your turrets and they've taken 2 of your turrets, but you guys have taken 2 of theirs, so that's even. Oh no, sorry, they got mid too. I couldn't see mid under all the people on the map. So they have a 1 turret advantage, and Garen has a 1 kill advantage. But you have enough of a CS lead that it doesn't matter, you're still up 600 gold. So just for between you and Garen, you're still ahead. And at this point, you guys bring a pretty similar role to the game. You're both kind of trying to dive the back line. Garen is going to be maybe a little bit more resilient than you are. Just naturally tanky because of the way his kit works. And he's building straight tank too, whereas you're building, well, not straight tank, I guess he is building whatever this is turning into. Whereas you kind of prioritize some early damage with Blade of the Ruined King. So we'll see how that plays out. If you are able to successfully get on your targets, then you'll obviously be more potent. But Garen's going to have an easier time surviving fights. Okay. Okay, so right now, Dragon's down. You guys have secured both Dragons. That's really good. With Dragon being down and Baron being up, it's a little bit early for Baron. So if they do Baron, then you guys can probably capitalize on that. So you just need to be aware, if they all disappear, they might be doing Baron. Ideally, you'd have this warded. So if they do try to risk it, you guys can just jump on them and murder them. Since Dragon is down, they're not going to be doing that anytime soon, so it's just a matter of them trying to push these inner turrets. That's the only objective on the map. So the mistake you guys could make here is pushing out into where it's much easier for them to win a fight. If they have to funnel all the way in here, it's easier for you to control that situation because you have more vision control of this area. You have a turret that's not that far away. This is kind of your territory, right? And so if they have to come in here and fight you, this is an easier fight for you to win. If you let them bait you out here, it's much more even. It comes much more down to which team has the, just a straight 5v5 advantage. And since they're up a little bit in gold, that's kind of them. And they have a big wave pushing top lane too. So you have a ticking time bomb up here that you're going to have to go deal with at some point here in the near future. This one is going to slowly push their way, I think. Yeah, it is. But it's going to be a while before it's actually pressuring anything. So right now, if you guys are kind of getting baited out to here, there's no objective for you to push here, so there's nothing you're really threatening. They're just kind of drawing you out into the lane here, where they don't have to worry about your turrets, they don't have to worry about your vision control. They can just wait and stall until this pushes a little bit further, and then you guys are going to have a lot of pressure on you to go deal with that, right? You're going to want to go deal with that big wave of minions so it doesn't damage your turret, and so you're not giving up all that gold, and suddenly you have a situation where it's a 4v5. It's a 4v5 either out here, or even worse, it's a 4v5 somewhere in here, or, maybe best case, but still not great, is a 4v5 in here. So if you guys had stayed here and sent one person out to go deal with this minion wave and stayed 4v5 here before it had gotten a big pressure, 4v5 here isn't that big of a deal. They're not so far ahead that they can just mindlessly dive you if you guys play it right. So if somebody had gone up to clear this wave and then come back here, they probably wouldn't have been able to dive your turret, and then suddenly they have pressure, you've got you pushing pressure back toward them, and the situation is reversed a little bit. So the mistake you can make here is getting baited into a place on the map that you no longer have an advantage. So you need to kind of have a little bit of a finger on the pulse about where the gold levels are at. You can do that by just looking at the turrets and looking at the general, scores. Who's got the most CS, who's got the most kills. You can kind of do a quick calculation in your head, basically who's ahead. And if you did that, you could notice that it's about even, but they're a little bit ahead. And so at that point, then you need to be just aware of that. Just be like, okay, so is this a situation that we really want to be pushing out and being aggressive? And probably not. Probably not. You're not really gaining anything by going out this far. If you guys were to, now, of course, all of that is mitigated by the fact if they do something incredibly stupid, like that. So now it's a 4v5. But again, it's a situation where you guys pushed, and I realize this isn't all under your control, but you guys pushed out into the situation before they had made a mistake. And if they are smart, they just back off. You can't do anything to them under the turret, really. And they just have to wait until this starts pressuring you guys harder. And then they go. Dragon's going to be up before too much longer. So this is a stalemate that you guys can't maintain for too long without starting to give up a lot. You know, if they had played it right. Since they didn't play it right, they gave up a kill. Mordekaiser has been tanking the turret this entire time. Now he's going to die. You're doing good work on Yasuo. He's their primary carry. Chasing Garen under the turret, not a great idea. No need for that. So I'm just going to look at this fight again real quick and let's just talk about the dynamics of this fight. Okay, so it's a 4v5. They're missing their AD carry. They don't have any range. So you guys can easily siege this. You don't have a lot of range, but you have more than they do. You have TF, right? So as long as you guys are kind of body blocking for TF, or you have Lulu too. So as long as you guys are body blocking for your range characters, so they can't just dive on them, then you guys potentially have an advantage. You don't want to go so deep that they suddenly can fight a 4v5 under the turret, and you guys have to back off for a ways before you can actually fight. But you can let TF and Lulu start pounding on this turret and kind of set up a siege situation while you and Mordekaiser primarily wave clear. So, at that point, then Mordekaiser makes a mistake and just continuously tanks this turret. And nobody was body blocking for TF, so he gets hooked. Okay, so Thresh goes in, but his team isn't really ready to follow up here. But if he flays, then Yasuo has a perfect ult. There it is. Yasuo doesn't take it, though. I don't know if his ult not up. No, it's up. He should have ulted there. That could have turned back on you really badly. Okay, so you come in and you're killing Thresh, which is fine. He's the one that's out of position, right? So you kill him, or your team kills him, and now you gotta decide who needs to die next. You gotta look at who's out of position the most and who's the biggest threat. Right now, between the two biggest threats are Riven and Yasuo, and by far it's Yasuo that's the biggest threat, both because Riven is not as far ahead as he is, and because she's building tank. So Garen and Riven are both building tank, and they're not, you know, they're going to be doing some damage, and they have some CC, but they're not the primary damage threat. Yasuo is the primary damage threat, and he's not, you know, and he's in the mix, he's in melee range, so you guys can kill him, which you do. So you're fighting him, Mordekaiser's fighting him. Well, you're not fighting him as hard as you could, but you do turn back around eventually here. But if you had stayed in the mix when Mordekaiser was still alive, then that would have been much better. Okay, so you come in, you hit Yasuo with an axe, and then you kill him. Okay, now he's dead. Okay, so now what's the situation? Garen is half health. He used his ult already, so he's basically out of the fight right now. He doesn't bring anything else to the table, really. A little bit of damage. Mostly he's just tanky, right? Riven is much more of a threat. Even though she's building tanky, she just brings much more natural damage and CC to a fight, and TF is really low. So TF's going to die here, unless somebody comes and saves him. Instead, you opt to turret dive Garen, who isn't really a big threat anyway. He's already out of the fight, which then leaves Riven free to murder TF, and he might have died anyway, but if you and Lulu and Fiora had collapsed on Riven when she's in the jungle, not under the turret, you could probably have killed her. And then Garen can't do anything to stop the four of you from, or the three of you from pushing this turret. But now, Riven takes you out, she comes back in, you're super low from diving Garen, she takes you out, and then she probably can't kill these two unless they mess up really badly. But you no longer have any pressure to take a turret. So you guys won the fight numbers-wise, but you didn't really get much from it. Okay, moving forward. I like Deadman's Plate on Olaf. I would also like Steric's Gauge. This would be a good Olaf item. Because it does all the things that Olaf wants to do. I don't know why Fiora is spending so much time killing Thresh. Where are you at? Okay, you're up here. This is fine. You putting pressure on top lane keeps Garen here. And he can't really stop you. So this is a point where if you actually go to try to take this turret, he starts to become more dangerous. So this is where you can just stop and... Okay, now, yeah, but then there, as soon as he goes out like that, then you can start winning. As soon as he leaves turret range, you have the advantage. So if you can bait him out, punish him for all he's worth, and other than that, just keep him up here. As long as your team doesn't need you to be with them, if you can keep it a 4v4 that's in their favor, then you're okay. And you're taking turrets and pressuring and he can't stop you, so that's fine. You're just causing Garen to just waste his time up here, basically. Okay, so now, though, it's a 3v5 mid. You guys did have Dragon, so there's that, I guess. But Fiora's not there, so you just need to be aware of the situation, because now the pressure is moving the other way, right? So you don't have a whole lot of time to stay up here and do this, because they're pushing out, so there's no reason for all 5 of them to stay. They're not defending anything. So either they're all 5 going to charge down here and have an advantageous fight because Fiora's is out of position and you're out of position, so they could maybe, you know, they sense that they have a 4v5 that they can now fight, and if they win a 4v5, they're going to take a lot here. They're going to get this and possibly this. So you just need to be aware of that. You want to have teleport up so that you can deal with it. So you do. So you want to be having half an eye here. Alternatively, if not all 5 of them go, then you need to know that one or more of them could be coming up here because there's no more pressure on this turret, so they don't have to stick around as 5 to defend it, so they can send one or more people up here. Which is why you need to be having vision here. You need to have this trinket upgraded, which I know I've told you this before. I know I've looked at your videos and told you got to upgrade this trinket. You got to upgrade this trinket. You are level 15. You are spending time moving around the map. This needs to be upgraded by now. You can't do this kind of thing intelligently without ward coverage. You don't know who's coming up. You have no idea if anybody's coming up. You need to have, when you're pushing up, you throw a ward in this bush, which you did, but you don't have another ward because you need to throw a ward here. You need to know if they're coming up to kill you. So that's a mistake, honestly. That's a mistake that will end up costing you. I don't know if it'll cost you here. I don't know if they'll capitalize. Because if they're not coming up, then that tells you that they're pressing a 4v5 here. If they are coming up, then that tells you that you need to play cautious and not die. You don't need to leave. You still want to provide pressure up here, perhaps. But you certainly don't want to be out of position under a turret and let them catch you out. Okay, so they dive and you capitalize by killing their back line, which is fine. Thresh dies. Good. You played that pretty well. Good. Okay, moving forward, taking this turret. That inhibitor. This is the time where you guys should go back and heal up and then maybe think about pressuring Baron. You have 2,000 gold. So this is a thing where if you just clear this wave and then recall, that's probably okay, but you're kind of giving up a lot of time. That you could be going back to base and buying a major item, or finishing a major item and then coming right back and putting pressure on the map. There's no way that you take this turret right now, right? There's no realistic way this happens. They're all respawned. You don't have enough vision on the map to know where they all are for sure. So you pushing this turret is just needlessly risky, because you don't stand to gain anything. Unless they're all morons and just decide to sit in their base, there's no way you get this. Even if one person shows up, there's no way you get this. It's too risky. Since you already have enough gold to make a major purchase, all you're doing here is wasting your time. Because the enemy team knows, if they're smart, that you can't take this, and so the whole time you're up here, yeah, you got a little bit of CS, but you're just delaying the point where you guys have a strong 5-man presence to put back on the map. You guys just won a major fight, took a turret and an inhibitor. If you guys immediately all go recall, make your purchases and are all at full health, you can come back and now you're a major force to be reckoned with. You're a major 5-man force to be reckoned with. You can start pinging Baron and go there. Because you delayed, and I don't know if it was just you, I think other people delayed too, but because you delayed, you're delaying that 5-man point, you're delaying that 5-man power spike, and to the point where maybe it doesn't ever even happen, because now you're scattered, you're kind of all doing your own thing, you're delaying your purchases, maybe that gives them a chance to pick 1 or 2 of you off and take an advantage of their own, or even things back up. So that doesn't end up happening here, obviously. You end up finding another good fight. Or they end up handing you another good fight, more is what it is, to be honest, but it works out. That doesn't change the thrust of what I was saying, though. Okay. And then you guys end up pushing up, and then you win it. I'm gonna go back and just see when. Okay, so you never end up going for Baron. You guys control Dragon all the way up to 4. Okay, so big picture stuff. You could have controlled Garen a lot more in lane phase. A lot more. You could have controlled him. So I pointed out most of that stuff. You needed to start probably roaming a bit more, using teleport to make plays, because you had a substantial lead over your lane opponent. You could leave top for a while, and he still wouldn't have a chance to catch up. And so you leaving then allows you to come start impacting lanes which are maybe behind for your team. So that you can start roaming sooner and controlling Garen more. In team fights, I talked about a couple of things, just decision-making wise. Why are you pushing out here? You know, looking at the map and how it's set up, is this really a time when you want to push for a fight, when you have minion waves pushing your way? Target selection in this fight, you know, so just your prioritization of targets and examining the map to try to determine when is it a really good time to push a fight, and when are we rolling the dice more than we should. But overall, pretty good game. You played Olaf pretty well, honestly, diving the back line, looking for priority targets most of the time, which is strong. You did go for Sterix, which is good. So yeah, overall a good game by you. But there's things you can do. The things I'm talking about are things you can do to just increase the consistency of your win-loss ratio. So you're not just you don't just end up rolling the dice and hoping that they end up making the mistakes that they did, or as many mistakes as they did to hand you the victory. Cool. Okay, thanks for a chance to look at this game. I really appreciate it, and best of luck.